Welcome to the Wonder Cinema Podcast,
where we wonder about cinema.
I'm filmmaker and film critic Brian Henry Martin.
And I'm cinema historian and author Dr. Sam Manning.
Welcome to Series 2, where we will be wondering about the remarkable story of home video in Northern Ireland.
The rise and fall of videotape, from format wars to video nasties, piracy, paramilitaries, and the wonder of the video shop.
So we want you to
say yes to VHS.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the QFT for this special event where we say yes to VHS. So welcome, everybody. So we're doing a live podcast recording. This is episode 5 of the Wonder Cinema. So Dr. Sam, let's press play on episode 5.
Yeah, we're pressing play to look at the history and the importance of the video shop in Northern Ireland.
So we are here today to celebrate the wonder of the video shop. And if you grew up in the 1980s like me, the video shop was a place of wonder. But Sam, tell us about the Wonder Cinema Podcast, because this is the second series. So what was the first series?
The first series was about the history of the Ritz Cinema, which opened in 1936 in the centre of Belfast, in Fisherwick Place. We look at the history of the cinema from when it opened up to when it closed in the early 90s. Some of you may have known it as the ABC or the Canon. To those who have listened, thank you very much for doing so. And for those who haven't, it's available wherever you get your podcasts.
Has anybody listened to the first series?
Not yet, but I will.
Okay, great. That means you've got 6 great episodes to look forward to. So, Sam, we wanted to look at the rise and fall of videotape in Northern Ireland. Why did we want to do that?
Well, it's a really important story. It's the start of the home video revolution. And it's a really interesting story, especially in Northern Ireland, because this is all set against the backdrop of the Troubles.
Okay, so this is episode 5. So, Sam, talk us through episode 1, 2, 3, 4 before today's episode 5.
Yeah, so episode 1 is on the rise of VHS and the video boom, how VHS beat the competition of Betamax to become the dominant format. Episode 2 is about piracy, video piracy and counterfeiting. Episode 3 is about the video nasties, moral panic. And episode 4 is about how cinema and television fought back against the rise of home video.
So that's all to look forward to in your ears at your own time. Today we're here to talk about the video shop. And Sam, we're also going to show a classic video on the big screen. Now, Sam, why the hell are we showing a VHS tape in a cinema?
That's the real question, isn't it, Brian? We really want to share the magic of VHS in a communal environment and for everyone to enjoy the film together and to show you what VHS actually looks like on the big screen.
And why are you all here to see a VHS on the big screen? You've all lost your minds. But Sam, let's go right back now. Tell us about the history of video shops in Northern Ireland. When did this all begin? Because today, it's all gone. It's all disappeared. It seems like such a short time ago, but Sam, take us back.
Yeah, so just to put it in context, so VHS was originally launched in the mid-1970s, and from the late 1970s, people in Northern Ireland would have started buying VCRs to tape things off the television, but also then to be able to rent videos. When this happened, late 70s, early 80s, there weren't specific video shops. What happened was that other businesses saw kind of money signs and thought, right, we can make a bit of extra cash by renting out videos. And I stress renting out because at that time people were almost entirely renting rather than buying. Videos were very expensive to buy at that time, upwards of £60, which is expensive in today's money, but back in the early 1980s is, a huge amount of money to spend on a video. So places like garages, corner shops, electronic shops would also rent out
Back of a
businesses.
car. Don't forget about back of a car.
Absolutely, yeah. almost, as a bit of a side hustle to make a bit of extra money. So I know you did a bit of sleuthing, Brian, in the Yellow Pages.
Yes, I went to Central Library and asked, could I see the Yellow Pages from 1980? This caused quite a collision in Central Library, as no one has asked for the Yellow Pages since 1980. But they did find it. They found the Yellow Pages for 1980, 1985, and 1990, which really told the story of the rise of the video shop.
Yeah, absolutely. So in 1980, there were no specific video libraries, as they were called at that time, listed. By 1985, and I've got figures to back this up, Brian.
Okay, this is what Sam's good at, okay? He's the figures man.
So 1985, we have 89 video libraries across Northern Ireland. By 1990, that had increased to 248.
Wow.
So that's a massive expansion. In the space of 10 years, you go from these kind of ad hoc places, renting out videos, to almost 250 specialised video shops.
To me, it's like the boom of the vape shops. All of a sudden, they seem to be everywhere. But Sam, what kind of shops are we talking about? Is there any that you can name for us?
Yeah, well, again, I've got a list here.
Brilliant.
With some of the more idiosyncratic names. Hopefully none of these were fronts for suspect organisations.
Yeah.
We have Agnes and Sandy's Video Library in Belfast. We have Flicker's Video Club in Ballynahinch. We have Lightship Video in Ballywalter. We have Rent-A-Tape in Newtonards. That's, I think, a bit of a less exciting name.
Yeah.
Does
what it says in the tin, yeah.
We have Topper's Video Shack in Lurgan. And we have then Zodi's, which had several branches, one in Cumber, one in Belfast.
Yeah, I do remember Zodi's. I was a member of Zodi's. But listen, I'm absolutely obsessed with Agnes and Sandy's Video Library. Does anybody remember that? Did anybody go to that? I mean, that's a movie, isn't it? Agnes and Sandy's Video Library. I would love to see that film. But Sam, what did the video shop do for people, do you think? It opened up a world of kind of video, didn't it?
Absolutely, it really fired people's cinematic imagination, and you'll know more about this as someone who went to some of these video shops in the 1980s. It opened up a world of films that might not have been available to them before.
And in terms of the difference, I mean, we looked at this in the last episode, but in terms of how many films were on offer in a video shop compared to what was on in the cinema, for example, give us a sense of that.
Yeah, so a lot of the early video libraries in adverts are advertising the fact they have 500 or 1,000 videos available to rent, which now with the rise of streaming and all these different platforms might seem like quite a small number, but at that time that was absolutely huge. And as you go through the 80s, that number increases. People really sell themselves on having a wide range of stock. And one of the biggest developments that happened in the 1980s, Brian, was the rise of the big chains. So I'm sure many of you, if not most of you in this room, will remember XtraVision. XtraVision started in the early 1980s in the Republic of Ireland. There you go.
I still got my membership card, Sam. This still works.
Wow.
Unfortunately, there's no shops anymore.
Yeah, nowhere to use it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, yeah, XtraVision started in the early 1980s, and it expanded into Northern Ireland in 1989. So, do you remember I told you there were almost 250 video shops in 1990? 72 of those were XtraVision.
Wow.
And it only opened here in 1989, so massive expansion. And they prided themselves or boasted about the fact that they had this huge variety of stock. They had multiple copies of all the most popular videos.
Now, we're here in QFT, and of course, during the 1980s, this was a beacon of cinema. But if you lived in a rural area, how important was the video shop?
Yeah, I think possibly more important for people living in rural areas than in places like Belfast, because what happened in the 1970s and 1980s, lots of cinemas were closing down. I think we found at some point in that period there were only 5 cinemas left in Belfast. But that's even worse if you live in a small town where a cinema might have opened in the 1930s but then closed in the 60s, 70s and 80s. Other than television, there was nowhere for you to watch these films. So, a video shop coming into your small town, it's like a whole it's like a portal into another world, I think.
And if you were from the Indian community or the Chinese community, all of a sudden a world of cinema kind of arrived in the form of a videotape.
Yeah, definitely, and we've spoke to people who wanted Chinese language Indian films and couldn't get them in their local video shop and had to rely on imports or family networks in other parts of the UK to get these videos over to Northern Ireland.
Well, for me, the wonder of the video shop, Sam, was really in the experience of it. Now, just as a show of hands, because that would be really, that works on a podcast, can everybody who remembers who went to a video shop put their hand up? Because that would be really great. Okay, wow, see, that's a lot of people, isn't it? And we all had a personal relationship with the shop that we were a member of, or the several shops. And I think that's what makes the video shop special, Sam.
Yeah, absolutely. And it won't surprise any of you to hear that I'm not from Northern Ireland.
What? Hold on.
It might shock you to hear that I'm a little bit younger than Brian. But you have direct experience of going to these kinds of places here in the 1980s. So perhaps could you just talk about what your memories of going to the video shop in the 1980s were?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing is, I mean, if you grew up in Belfast in the 1980s, we were living in a virtual lockdown. I hadn't been into the city centre for about 2 years. I certainly didn't go to the cinema very often. And it was only later that I really, realised that I'd actually watched my favourite films, not in the cinema, but on video. That was the truth of it. I saw it on video first. The video shop near me was called World of Video at Bloomfield Roundabout. And it was a world of video for me, Sam. I went in there were 500 titles. I loved the artwork. All the covers were kind of different. Each one, I knew that these films were going to change my life, okay? Just imagine me getting in and picking up this, okay? I know they've just had a David Lynch season here at QFT, so this is Blue Velvet. Obviously, this bent my brain, changed my dreams, did all sorts of stuff, and is still doing so today. But Sam, it was also, they were community spaces, okay? If you loved movies, you went in there, you talked to people, you talked to the person behind the counter, there was a film playing, and you got chatting about, oh, have you seen this, have you seen that? Obviously, there were films below the counter and at the back, but we've talked about them in episode 2 and 3. Here today, we're going to talk about the wonder, Sam, the wonder. And I often think about a videotape itself, Sam. Like if I take one of these tapes out and you were hired out for the night, you never got the box, of course. And when you went into the shop, the boxes were all empty. So it was kind of like a shoe shop. You know the way shoe shops used to be so weird with one left shoe or whatever? Video shops were a bit like that. But and you never got to take the box home because it went into another cover. But I often thought about a videotape, just a one solitary videotape that maybe visited 300 homes. And how many lives did it change, Sam? That's what I think about.
Did it look like it had played in 300 homes when you watched
Sometimes it did. Hopefully the film that we are watching today doesn't, but I mean, that's all part of the quality of it. When I think I had a portable television with a video player in it, one of those, I was watching Lawrence of Arabia on that and thinking it was great. So it didn't spoil the enjoyment of the film for me in any way. I just think it's kind of what your experience was like.
Yeah, and the way you explain it there, it seems like you're very nostalgic about these kinds of places. But how did that compare to some of the bigger chains, places like XtraVision?
Yeah, I mean, I think XtraVision in a way, it's a bit like going to, the old fish and chip shop and then all of a sudden going to fancy burger joint. It was a chain. It felt like a chain. The staff wore uniforms. They were still very nice people, but it wasn't the same vibe as the old ad hoc video store. The challenge for the video store was maybe they only had 1 or 2 copies of that week's big movie, And what XtraVision was able to do was to have a whole wall of that film, you know, because you used to have the book films out, like the kind of classic films. So it really changed the experience in a way, and but it was still good, but it was still a video shop, just a little bit more corporate.
Okay, and what were some of the downsides? How many fines did you have to pay back in the 80s, Brian?
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, there was a lot of that. I mean, I had some lost years that I have to admit to. Okay, in the early 1990s, I lived beside a video shop on the Lisburn Road. Now, this was a great video shop where if you brought the video back before 4 o'clock, you could rent it out for 50p. So I would go in 10 o'clock in the morning, get 4 films, watch them back to back until 4 o'clock on Job Seekers Alliance. But that was a great way of spending your day.
It worked out for you, Brian.
It somehow worked. But yeah, I mean, that was all part of the excitement of it. And, you followed directors, you followed actors, and you followed maybe in the foreign film kind of sections that you had no knowledge of whatsoever. You definitely saw a wider choice of films than you got in the cinema.
So what kind of changed throughout the 1980s? So one thing we talked about earlier was the fact that most videos were rented, but that had changed quite substantially by the late 80s, early 90s. I know you brought a copy of a tape here which kind of shows that change, Brian.
Yeah, it's here somewhere, isn't it? Where is it? Oh, here it is. This is the video that changed everything. It seems mad that this is the film that did it, but it is. And that film is Rain Man. Rain Man. And you'll see, no, you won't see because I can hardly see it. It says here, sale. There's a little box and says sale. Because Sam and I were both kind of amazed by this, that videos were not for sale until Rain Man in 1988. Now that seems mad to me. So just talk about E.T. for a moment as an example, because we have talked about it in episode 2.
Yeah, we talked quite a lot about E.T. in our piracy episode because E.T. came out in cinemas in Christmas 1981 in Belfast. But it seems that everyone had already watched it by that point because it was so widely pirated. You could buy pirate copies for £5 at that time, which to rent a video was about £1.50. To buy a video could be £40, £50, £60. As I said, that price went down. So £5 to buy a copy of a film that hasn't even been out in cinemas. You can see the appeal there. I don't condone piracy, of course, but. And that wasn't released on video officially to rent until 1988.
Now, just think about that for a moment. Hold on a minute. It comes out in the cinema in 1982, okay, and it's not to rent for 6 years. What the hell was E.T. doing?
I can't say what E.T. was, but he was back home by that point, wasn't he, Brian? But I think that the film company wanted to protect their assets. So a lot of them thought they would make more money by showing the film in cinemas, re-releasing it over several years, protecting their intellectual property. They didn't see the potential of selling through, as it was called at that time, to the market and letting people own copies of the videos.
So Rain Man in 1988 became the first film that was available to rent and buy at the same time. And this changed everything. And within a few years, what had happened to the box office, Sam?
Well, by the early 90s, 92, 93, the companies were making more money from selling these videos than they were from renting them out. So that's a big shift in the way that people are experiencing owning these videos potentially.
I mean, there was something magical in renting a film, but to own a film, to actually have it in your hand, to be able to carry it around, to take it home with you, there's something wonderful about physical media. And I've said this for a long time, vinyl has been shown so much love, and the video has not. And I think the video, stay with me here, people, I think the video is the vinyl of cinema. And needs more love, because it shared the same dreams, Sam, you know. And I think to have a film and to own it and to be able to watch it whenever you want it. I could watch this 12 times a day if I wanted. The choice was mine. Now, that was never the choice in the history of cinema before that point.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about how we think that the arrival of VHS changed people's relationship with cinema, and it set the scene for streaming now and the way we think about how we consume entertainment. You know, we were in control for the first time. You could stop, rewind, play, fast forward if you wanted to. Before then, you would only be able to watch a film if it was at the cinema or it just happened to come on television.
And, you know, we've talked in the first series about the space where the Ritz cinema was. And I kind of think, in a way, spaces where cinemas were are kind of luminous spaces, and they kind of have a magic around them. And one only has to look at the Dublin Road. If you've walked down the Dublin Road recently, the lights have went out compared to what it was before. Just something is lost, I think, when a cinema closes, but also maybe when a video shop closes. And, you know, wherever your local video shop was, the next time you pass it, just give it a little salute. Do you know what I mean? Just pay it a little bit of love, you know, which would be a nice thing to do, I think.
Oh, sorry, just to jump in there, Brian. I think a really shocking thing, not shocking, but I think for me is that there were more video shops than there ever were cinemas at the height of cinema going. There were about 120 cinemas in Northern Ireland in the 40s and 50s. You know, I gave you that figure of 250 video shops. They were on every high street, every street corner. They were a visible presence, you know, in every town, village and city in Northern Ireland. And like you say, that's now completely gone to be replaced by the vape shop.
And the magic as a kid of going into it, not knowing what film you're going to get out that night, but you have one film you can pick. You know, it was, you know, the kid in the candy shop kind of thing. It was really exciting. So I kind of feel as if video shops haven't been showing the love either. There's a lot of lack of love in all of this, Sam. But I think it's time. It's time.
Yeah, we're bringing it back, Brian.
We're bringing it back. The time has come. The time has come. But look, we are really keen to hear what your memories of the video shop may be. So you'll get the opportunity afterwards to chat to us about that.
Yeah, we're going to be hanging around in the lobby, foyer, whatever you want to call it after the film. So, yeah, please do come and talk to us about your memories of going to video shops and your experiences of VHS.
My name's Andy. My memory of video shops, it's XtraVision. And in East Belfast, there's also a small independent one called Video City. It may have been a chain, but I just remember it's the classic, like, Friday, Saturday. You're going, like, my parents took me all the time. I was an only child, so we're picking the film for the week, we're picking the PlayStation game for the week, and just that, kind of how we're smelling here in QFT, that popcorn that just resonates around the whole place. And it was just, yeah, I can't remember how many, but I've seen so many Jackie Chan dubbed movies. And just, yeah, every Star Wars, every big hitter of the time, you know, just the most 90s kid nostalgia. That's all it is, really.
My name's Kieran, so I'm 30, so I do have some memories of VHS as a child, not as many as some here might have. But obviously, as you can tell from my accent, I'm not from Northern Ireland. So when I was growing up, we had Blockbuster. So I was quite surprised that wasn't mentioned today. But some of my fondest memories of VHS were when I was a kid. We used to have a local shop called One Stop. And my grandmother had a membership, so I would go every weekend and I'd rent a videotape. Normally just some like children's film, something that was just complete trash to keep me distracted for the weekend. But sometimes I'd see some really great films. I think just in terms of children's films that I would have watched, I watched things like Matilda, The Lion King, loads of Disney stuff. But yeah, that was something I'd always look forward to on the weekend. It was always on tape, so that was fun.
I'm Lauren. Yeah, there was a Video City in Cumber whenever I was growing up. My dad was the account holder and he would usually take me there every Saturday. and you were able to rent 3 videos at one time, and every week I insisted we rent the Care Bears film and Madeline, and then my dad was allowed to pick another one. I don't know why they didn't just buy me the tapes so that it would free them up, but yeah. It had a sunbed shop in the video shop, which was quite strange, but apparently that was quite common for Video City.
I think it's been a real eye-opener today to watch The Princess Bride, because that too is also one of my favourite kids' films. But it's really interesting watching it in sort of low fidelity, because, you know, I think looking back, you didn't realise that that was poor quality, or especially compared to today. You know, you look back and you think, God, this used to look so amazing to me. You know, it could be some of the best visuals I've ever seen. So yeah, it was interesting to sort of take that time machine back and, you know, experience it how I would years ago.
But it was great in the episode today just to see like the physical tape, that vinyl analogy, because I love vinyl records. It's just that substance, and I always wonder, like, I feel like media always pivots. Like, how will we pivot back to there?
I guess I'm quite nostalgic about it. I quite like when you rented it and it wasn't rewind, and you had to rewind it. Like, it's quite nice. I like the idea of actually owning a film now. I mean, we don't have a video player, or we don't have a DVD player either. Even though I buy DVDs of my favourite films, because they might disappear off streaming and you don't know how to get them. So yeah, I'm quite nostalgic about videos.
Okay, Sam, that's the end of our episode 5 on the wonder of the video shop. What's coming up in our final episode 6?
In episode 6, we're going to be talking about the eventual decline of VHS.
Oh, no.
The rise of DVD.
Oh, no.
The closure of video shops, but also, on a more optimistic note, to look at how people look back at those times, and I suppose the current wave of nostalgia for VHS.
Okay, good. I mean, the thing was, it was a video shop, it was a video library. I mean, we've talked about this as well, Sam, about the whole idea of a library was how people understood how all this worked. Like, this was like a book that you rented. Oh, it's a library. That's how I know how it kind of works. And I think, there's something about that. We see it in streaming now. It wears the clothes of the video shop in a way, but the browsing experience is not as good. I mean, we miss browsing. I miss browsing.
Yeah, well, it's not a social experience anymore.
It's not a social experience, and there's no magazine racks anymore. Like the bookshops are going, the video shops have gone. We miss a wee browse. That's all I'm saying. But Sam, as I say, we've come to the end. So listen, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, QFT.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for listening to Say Yes to VHS.
The music is by Score Draw.
The Wonder Cinema Video Shop
Is now closed.